Hi there, Speedieclark. Okay, training session has been completed, and as you can see, I've been using my time trial bike in the turbo trainer. Now, the only difference and the only gains this offers over my training bike is position, because as you'll see on the actual trainer, using the power's power, watts, doesn't matter what you're riding, produces the same energy coming from the flywheel, okay? Now, an interesting thing is I've got my stem completely slammed, and I've only ridden one time trial with it like that this year. Now, I can get into a very low position on the bike, as you see, ISM saddle, Adamo. Not sponsored in any way, but this is one of the best saddles I have ever used, significantly comfortable. It might not look comfortable, but it's phenomenally comfortable. I rode Land's End to John O'Groats and attempted Land's End to John O'Groats back record on that saddle, and I had no problem at all with the seat and saddle sore. So fantastic saddle, okay? Well worth the money, okay? So I would suggest you buy one. Anyway, with the stem completely slammed, when I was down in my aero position, I was struggling to hold 330 watts. Now, my average was 305 watts over the whole session. But I struggled to maintain 330 watts, which for me, you know, as I said time ago, I was averaging that. So I thought that's strange. So when I went up onto here and sat more upright, which is about an inch and a half difference, about an inch and a half to maybe 2 inches difference in height, my power increased slightly and it was easier to maintain. So position is key, and it's something I've never experimented with before. Actually, ironically, I use power when I'm training, but when I'm riding the time trial, I just basically try and go as hard as I can until it hurts badly and try and hold on to that. So, you know, I'm going to be using a power meter more often because power meters are the way to go. I mainly only use it training just to do some tests, as I said, every now and again. But buying a power meter and fitting it to your bike is definitely the way to go. So, top and bottom of it is the full aero right down nose off the front wheel isn't necessarily fully the right way to go. It's what gives you the maximum aerodynamic advantage, but also the maximum power advantage. So I may have to look at tweaking the position slightly, or it may be because I don't ride this position very often, so it's harder. Or it may be the fact that it's indoors, and when I'm out on the road, the gains in that aero position, even though my watts are down slightly, might be a big of an advantage. Sometimes aerodynamics is more of an advantage over the actual power, because I'm very small, narrow, light. You know, I could use 38 centimeter wide bars, for example, and be very comfortable. So it could be that's a bigger gain for me. My engine's not massive, but the position I can get into is very aerodynamic. Okay, so just an interesting tip on positions. You know, it's worth getting a bike fit. It's worth using a power meter. If you're taking it seriously and want these gains, I would thoroughly recommend it. What I wouldn't recommend is, and this is no offense to people that are carrying a bit of an additional weight, but I really wouldn't bother spending all this money if, you know, you need to lose some weight. I would concentrate on losing the weight, using a mediocre training bike, and just getting the kilos down. And once you're down and got the body fat down, then go into this equipment. For example, these wheels here, these aerodynamic wheels, they do not work unless you're doing 25 miles an hour. So unless you can ride 25 miles an hour and maintain 25 miles per hour, you are not really getting advantage. Same with the disc wheel, you know, the disc wheel over there, completely pointless unless you're over 25 mile an hour. So if you cannot average 25 miles an hour in the time trial, these wheels, which cost in the region of nearly £2,000, absolutely 0 point. 0 point, no point at all, okay? I use a Raleigh 531 steel frame, which I've had, it's 18 years old almost, round about that. Shimano Sora group set. And I'll go out and I'll practice a 10-mile time trial on that bike, okay? And unless I can break 25 minutes on that steel bike with normal drop handlebars, heavy, you know, tubes, mediocre wheels, 105 hubs, Mavic Open Pro rims, 32 spokes, you know, just standard training tyres. Unless I can go under 25 minutes for 10 miles on that bike in winter gear, then I do not ride this bike. I do not use this bike, simply because for me it would be pointless. I'd feel like I'm cheating myself. Each to their own, but it's reality of it, okay? This bike over 10 miles, it might sound a lot in terms of time trialists. For people that don't really know a lot about time trialing, it might sound like nothing at all. But this bike, producing the same power of my steel bike, is approximately 2 to 2.5 minutes faster over 10 miles. And that may sound like a lot for time trialists and not a lot for non-time trialists, but the aero gains I get and the position I can get into on this bike give me a significant advantage. So that's the top and bottom of it for me. So the way I look at it is I struggle to get 23 minutes on my steel bike with drop handlebars. I know the likes of the old school riders were like smashing out 19 and 20 minutes. Phenomenal riders, like when they didn't use tri-bar setup and aero gains, but I'm sure it'd be possible to do, but for what I do at the moment, I find that difficult. So when I'm doing anywhere between 23 and 25 minutes, as I say, getting under at least 25 minutes on my steel bike for 10 miles on a sporting course, then I know I'm going to be on for a reasonably good time on this bike, you know. So for me, certainly, anyway, okay, for what I like to do, because I'm more of an endurance long distance rider rather than the 10-mile time trials, but I enjoy 10-mile time trials. Okay. So that's just a bit of a tip on pricing and costing. There's no point shelling out all this money. It's nice bling stuff, but to be honest, you're going to look a bit of a twat if you're doing 26 and 25 minutes on this gear. I would save your money, treat your wife or family, have yourself a nice holiday, spend it on going in the training camp, spend it on getting a coach. But unless you can do an average 25 miles an hour or close to that, standard, then I would not bother with this equipment. Okay, all right, thanks for watching. Cheers.